Any sinner is capable of being a great saint. And any saint is also capable of being a great sinner.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Locust and Honey. I'm your host, Christopher Quinn, and today I'm honored to have my good friend, Kelsey Mccullough. We go way back to the great state of North Dakota, and we're going to be speaking about what it was like transitioning from the missionary life to what some might call the real world. But before we get to that, Kelsey, where did we meet?
Oh my gosh. Okay. We met in North Dakota, clearly. I think you were like in high school still.
So were you,
like
right?
A junior. I might have been my senior year. I might have been, gosh, it must have been like at least 2009? Do you think 2009? 2010?
It was 2010 for sure, yeah.
Okay, 2010, yeah.
In a convent in Valley City, North Dakota.
Nowhere, North Dakota. I love it. I have cousins that live there now. We drive past the convent sometimes, and I'm like,
come on, shout out Highliners.
Hey.
Woof.
Yeah, search retreat.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's common in other places. I mean, I've heard other places have
Right.
it, but yeah, you were, I think, new. You were a newer searcher. This wasn't your first. I would go like once a year, and you were like there.
I was that kid that went to every single one of the community retreats, every single one. But it was definitely 2010, Valley City, and since the moment that we met, we'd been really, really good friends.
Yeah.
And we went separate paths, like post 2012 or whatever. And we're going to get to that. But I moved here to Cincinnati in last May. So it's been over a year now.
Yeah.
And I run into you.
At Coffee Emporium.
At Coffee Emporium. Yes, I walked into the kind of like Hyde Park area location.
I call it the house.
The house location.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that Kelsey Mccullough from 2011 in North Dakota? It's been like 11 years.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's crazy.
Maybe a few passes back and forth.
Yeah.
Missionary
like
type
focus
things,
conferences
but
and
like
stuff
that
like that.
was like quick hit.
Right.
Yeah,
Gosh,
and then
crazy.
you were back.
What?
And you were back. You were here in town.
Yeah.
I was like, you're in town. You're like, yeah, I'm just getting a house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I think I've been able to see you ever since.
That's so crazy. So obviously today we're speaking, actually, so just to be totally frank, earlier this week, me and Kelsey were talking about, what did we want to talk about with our time here at Locust and Honey. And something that we both have in common is we both served as missionaries in organizations for a number of years.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, wow, right now, this spring and this summer, so many people, so many men and women are actually transitioning out of being in that season of missionary work into just normal life, right? Going into whatever the next chapter is. And man, if we would have had a podcast
For those 15 minutes. It was short.
If we would have had a podcast during that phone conversation, but back when we were transitioning, if we would have had a podcast or anything, it's not like podcasts save lives, but like if we would have had any wisdom, like a conversation to at least like draw life from for that time, it would have been so helpful and so fruitful. And man, it just would have brought some peace because I don't know, like there's not a book, there's not a blueprint of like, hey, you served X number of years with this organization, just to, and just to let you know, life out here is a lot different.
No, seriously, because like Focus had, and not everyone goes to it, has like a little retreat thing, and they like kind of tell you the stuff, and then like you go and do the stuff, and then you're like, wait, I don't remember what I heard, or like, is it? And they're like, to have something to go back to and be like, oh yeah,
right. And we had something similar with Damascus, where I served as a missionary, tools and conversations to kind of like escort you into the new chapter. But no, I mean, at the end of the day, a podcast will help, but nothing will prepare you.
Well, it is so quick after like I did 6 years. How many years did you do?
5 or so.
So like just to like have like, and then everything in one weekend or one day.
Right.
You have to like think about it, and then like
Right. But before we get ahead of ourselves, Kelsey, I would love to hear how long did you serve with Focus?
Yeah.
What was that like? And we'll just kind of go from there.
Very good. Okay, yeah. So I started in 2015, right after college. I graduated from the University of North Dakota.
Come on.
Oh yeah.
Wendy.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so funny how many people I've found in Cincinnati who like graduated from there. It's bizarre. What? It's like a whole side story, but like 3 different people came into my coffee shop last week that I knew from UND.
What?
It was wild.
That's bonkers.
Yeah, I don't even know. Anyway,
focus.
Holy Spirit, what up? But yeah, so I graduated 2015, and then I went on mission right away with Focus. So it stands for Fellowship of Catholic University Students, primarily on college campuses, doing mission. I was sent to South Dakota first for 2 years. University of South Dakota. Then I was in Dayton, Ohio for 3 years at Wright State. And then I did 1 year in Michigan at the Michigan Tech University. So I did that. And then I came here. So that was 6 years of mission life.
Wow.
And then I decided to, it was like right before everything shut down for the pandemic. I was like, this is going to be my last year. I'm going to go back to school. Which, praise the Lord, I did not go back to school during the pandemic year. That would have sucked.
Dude, I cannot imagine a season of transition from missionary life to life out here being that time.
Yeah. So, no, it was crazy because I was signed up to Tech. I did that for 1 year. Amazing year. And then came back and it was like, and everything's still crazy. Okay, let's just do this thing. And
wow.
Then, Cincinnati.
What? Okay, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah.
Like, when was the moment that you knew, like, okay, I think I'm done with this chapter, and I feel called to move on to the next one?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So when, like, fundraising or salary and doing all these things, people are always asking, like, when do you think you're going to be done? And I didn't know exactly. I thought it'd maybe be 3 years, but clearly it was a little longer than that. But I was always like, I'll know when it's time. I don't know what I'll know, but I'll know it's time. So that year, so it was 2020, I was kind of just like looking forward and like what I could do to keep like staying in focus. And my heart was really with students on campus, but it felt like it was kind of the end of that era, just for a few reasons. Just like, I don't know, just like in my heart, I was like, this is it. And then also just like a season of like transition of like what students are going through, having gone through the pandemic and different things like that. That was like, it's a time of it's a season of change. But I was it was 2020. And I was just thinking, I was like, I know that I want to do something else. What is it? And I kept thinking about and looking at like roles within my degree. And I got really excited just like thinking about working in dietetics and public health. So I was like, okay, there's something here. And then so I was thinking about it, and it's just like there's so much peace and conviction of just like, this is what's the next step. But then I was like, do I do this now or do I not? And honestly, it was super practical. Like I was at a point where most schools kind of had finished accepting for like the next year for graduate degrees. So it's kind of like, okay, I guess I'll take this next year to decide where I want to go and like what I'm going to do with that degree. So I just was like, and I love being a missionary. So I'm going to finish one last year of doing that and go back to school the year after. So that's kind of, it was very practical from there. But just, I don't know, just like this very like small, strong conviction of like, it's time for something else. Okay, Lord, where do you want me? These are my skills. This is something that I am very passionate about. This is something I'm very excited about. Let's go there. You know, very, very simple.
Yeah. And here's the thing, because I know you as a person, the thing that I thought about from our conversation earlier this week, one of the things was when you were transitioning from missionary life to life out here, you can have maybe sometimes a set of expectations or just preconceived notions as to what life is out here, right? And I think I was more susceptible to that than anything else just because of the nature of being on like 400 acres of land, being with like 45 20-somethings and you're just like there, right? I feel like you had a different experience because like you almost never really left the world in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
like
that makes a lot of
you
sense.
experienced some of its fullness and some of its ugliness and just its rawness because you were on college campuses.
Yeah.
But like, what were some of your like expectations coming, like transitioning, and then like desires? Like, what did you want like coming into this new season?
Yeah. I think one thing that was really good with that last year I was at Tech, it was a engineering school for the most part, like most people, and then most people did a year like where they did a whole entire year of working and doing life and being an engineer, and then the rest of like then they also like had a normal life, right? So they like also went to mass and did these things and worked. So I saw them living their faith boldly, doing the things they've been talking about while also working. So I was like, okay, it's possible to do this in this capacity. So I think that was really encouraging. So I was like, okay, I can do it. So I think when I left and was like coming to UC specifically, I literally had 3-day turnaround. I left. I did summer projects. I left. I moved to Cincinnati. I had 3 days, and then I started school right away.
Yeah.
And so I think my expectation was like, okay, hit the ground running, make friends with everyone in my class, like start a Bible study, go to mass, like the whole thing. And then, but people were like, be gentle with yourself.
Right.
Like, people had told me that, and I was like, cool, yeah. I'll do that.
Right. No, I hear you for sure. Yeah. Maybe.
And like just like running, but I just like thought it would be a quicker transition, but I think I learned pretty quickly like it takes a lot longer to like build trust, to like put roots down.
Oh my gosh.
Like, find a
Do you want to
spot.
can we go there, please?
Yeah.
No, like it could just be so radically different, right? Because you go from missionary life, regardless of what organization or what missionary activity is specific to that organization, is usually somewhere between 300 and 400 miles per hour. And then you come out here to where, like, I don't know, it's just like a different pace of life, right?
Yeah, it's
I won't say it like wildly slows down. This is still America, right? So we're going like very we're still going very fast. But I really resonate with what you were saying of like, I'm going to start this Bible study. I'm going to disciple these people. I'm going to like start these really cool like gatherings and like all these things like that. I'm going to try to take what I've learned and just execute it right away with the vision that I have and the way that I know how to do it.
Yes.
That is a rude awakening.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because everyone like says like it's going to take longer. And like, I don't know if I just thought I was like better or like it was going to be different for me. And like, I do think like some people can hit the ground running really fast because they're like in their hometown or like whatever thing. But for me, it was like just even figuring out like my own prayer life. Like, okay, Lord, like how are you speaking to me in this season? That's different than what I was hearing. Like you're still saying the same things. You're still like, your voice is still the same, but it's a little bit different speed. And then trust just takes, when you're, at least when my experience was like, I'm a missionary. I'm going to a place, I encounter people, they know I'm a missionary. So there's like a understanding of like, oh, we can talk to you about this thing because like this is part of your role here. And I'm like, great. So we could go deep pretty fast. I mean, like there's trust to be earned there as well, but like there's a desire to like talk about some of these questions. Versus like in like my day-to-day life, that's not like that label wasn't there anymore, which was a great gift in a lot of ways because I was able to build real deep friendships, but like also like it's kind of harder because it's like, oh, we're not having the same type of conversations as quickly. Right. It just takes a lot more time. I'm still like having great conversations, but it just takes a lot longer to get there, which is so natural and normal and good.
Yes.
It's
Wait,
good.
were you? I feel like we were talking about this at one point.
Probably. That seems right.
That it is more normal, right, to have to go through that process of earning someone's trust and developing that relationship before they just like divulge all of the stuff they're processing and like their whole life story. Yeah. Where when you are wearing a missionary badge, you kind of, you know what I mean? It's like the Catholic Red Cross where they just know that they can get help from you. And so they just like throw it all in your hands, right? Sometimes, right? Sometimes. Sometimes. But then like out here, that was a very rude awakening of being like, oh my gosh, like I have to redevelop relationships, whether it's peer-to-peer or more of a like I'm ministering to you as a person, right? I want to speak on this for a second because that's the theme of, right? What did we expect? What did we desire? And then what did we realize? And going back to your point of basically, I feel like I just got humbled really quickly. I got humbled very quickly. I had exited, this handful of years of being on mission with Damascus and moving here to Cincinnati and was like, I'm going to start all these things. I'm going to do all these things. I had a lot of vision, but I did not have a lot of like getting low and serving. Like I had a lot of vision and a lot of momentum, and a lot of people knew my name. And we're like, Chris, oh my gosh, he's moving to Cincinnati. And then I don't know who, it's fine though, but someone like gave out my contact information to like and I got these requests for speaking and leading worship and all these kinds of things. And man, it was a 5-month period of just getting like humbled really quick, when I realized that, again, I'll just say it, like I went in with a lot of momentum and a lot of energy and a lot of vision. Vision is not bad, but when you have vision without humility, it's a very scary place to be. It's a very dangerous place to be, because that, like, we need to remember that whether you are stepping into a missionary organization at this season of life right now, or you are exiting one, or you're in the middle of one, you can have vision and energy and momentum, but if you do not have humility,
you're gonna get humbled.
Yeah. I'm not saying that from a place of like a golden throne. I'm saying that because I learned the hard way. And whether you are coming out here into the world with the Focus badge or the Damascus or NET or SPO or Christ in the City or Culture Project or you name it, right? The bouquet, the cornucopia of Catholic missionary opportunities. The first thing that you should wear is humility. Right, in tension, in conjunction with the confidence of the formation that you've received and the experiences that you've had and all the things you've gained from that. Yes, all that's super good, the missionary confidence, but humility is of the utmost importance.
Yeah, I remember when I was like leaving staff, people were talking about like, you go to a parish and like you ask the priest what he needs. Like that's what you should ask first, is like ask what is needed in that area, because you don't know it. You're learning it.
Yep.
And like what's happening. And I was like, okay. Like and so like that's just kind of how it started. But like, no, you're so right too with the humility, because I remember when I was first a missionary, I got like super humbled real fast, right? And I think something I learned a lot was obedience, like my team director, to different things. And I think it's different when you're not not a missionary and you're like, what are you obedient to? It's like the voice of the Father, right? You're like listening, you're praying, but it's just like your state in life as well. And so like I felt like, and this is like where the humility thing comes in, because I feel like I left being a missionary where I like learned all these amazing things, had these incredible experiences, met amazing people. Like part of the reason I came back to Cincinnati was because of the people I met in Ohio, and I loved them so much.
Right.
But I felt kind of like, like video games, how like you kind of like level up, so like you're like on level 1, you beat it, you go to level 2, it's exciting, it's new, it's fun, great, go up to level 3. It looks just like level 1, but there's like flamethrowers, some poisonous mushrooms, there's like things you've never seen before, but you're like, this looks exactly the same, but it's so different.
This is different than what I was doing.
And like, people have probably heard me say that, but like I that's exactly what it's felt like, being like leaving staff and being out on mission in my daily life is like, it looks the same as like when I was in college, or it looks the same as when I was on campus, but there's like different challenges, like different spaces to grow in humility and holiness, and like realizing my weaknesses and how quickly it is for me to be like distracted, for how quickly it is for me to like not have the habits of daily life that I did when I had 4 other people holding me accountable. Like, there's like all these things. So like the humility is like huge, because you're like, whoa, there's like flamethrowers. What?
I want to talk about that for a second though, because like that's so life-giving.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, to be in a certain missionary kind of rhythm, we'll call it, right? Or to be in your momentum, to be in that organization for a number of years, you just get the hang of the ropes, you get the language, like what to do and what not to do and how to do it and all the things like that. But then you come out here, it's like a totally different beast. Yeah. When I tell you, bro.
Oh no, yes.
Because no, here's the thing though, like when I was coming to the close of my time with Damascus, it was so full of sentimentality and like all like these really beautiful things that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. But one thing that I cannot ignore is that it kind of felt like I was a plant reaching the end of my pot. I'm a very big plant guy. I have we'll just say a number of plants at my place. A large number of plants. I love my plants. And like when a plant when the roots reach the end of the pot, the roots will start to wrap around the plant itself and choke it off and kill it. And if we are not obediently moving to the next season or next thing that God has for us and staying where we are comfortable or what we know most, you'll start to die. Like it will, and you'll feel it. It'll feel like something, right? And that's exactly how it started to feel towards the end. Was like, I think I'm dying. Here, because the nature of the missionary heart is to go beyond, is to go right. The send, the apostolic sent ones, right? And the moment I got out here, Kelsey,
oh no, or yes,
it was like oh my gosh, you know, and it wasn't running from something. It was just like, whoa, like it was the right time to jump out of the nest. And to spread out and to use the gifts and abilities and things that you've learned in the formation out here where it's risky and it's not safe. You know what I mean? Like one of the first things I did when I moved down here to Cincinnati was I drove for Uber for two reasons. One, we need a little side coin, but then also it's a really great way to learn your city. If you're moving to a new city, like Uber drive. And now, I mean, it's been 12 months and I can pretty much go anywhere without a GPS. I love That's amazing. That's incredible. But right, like I'm picking up people all day and sometimes in the middle of the night, and it's just they're normal people. They're normal people that have different beliefs in morality, in the afterlife, in what is good and what's bad, and all these things. And it's definitely not your tribe that you ran with like the last number of years or whatever. And it was so life-giving to just be put in those circumstances, to be the light of God and to share the love of Christ and to share the gospel, because you're a missionary still. You never stop being a missionary, right?
No, so okay, first of all, love the plant analogy. I'm gonna steal that if I ever have to talk about these things. Like, yes, because like it's so true. I think towards the end of my time, you're asking like, what was that like? I had this understanding, like I had formed a bunch of people too, like in that time to like go and live lifelong mission. I was like, it's my turn, like put me in, coach, you know, like kind of felt like that. And I agree. I had a very similar feeling towards the end of like, I was really excited to be surrounded by people that did not look or act or believe just as I did. And like I was able to like walk with people through that, but I was excited to like be exposed to this different, like, fresh air in this way. And like I think you said you started driving for Uber. I actually started working at a coffee shop because like a similar thing but different, where it was like I'm doing classes, that's like fine, but like I didn't really have like I needed a job, and I also like didn't know anybody. Like I moved to town knowing I knew people, but a lot of people like had jobs or I didn't know that many people. I was like, okay, I need friends. And I was like, I also really want to know this city more. So I started working at the coffee shop I'm working at, because like people go through there, you learn all sorts of people, you learn all sorts of things, you have coworkers that exist, and like it's so fun because you see so many different people all day. Like some days you get like 500 customers, right? So I'm like whipping out, I'm not really talking with people, but like you realize like in those moments you're like, okay, I'm just gonna like make sure you make eye contact, see you as a person. Okay, it's like real quick, but like there's like a little bit of that missionary heart too, where you're like, I'm encountering people, even if it's brief. Right. And I want to do it. But it's so funny because, like, now working there is, like, one of the greatest gifts, because I have so many friends that are, like, very different from me in so many ways. But, like, they give me the greatest gifts of my life. They're, like, so lovely. And then also I'm like, I know a lot about the city because, like, you learn how to talk sports. You learn about the weather.
Come on, go Bengals. Who day?
Who day? I like literally wrote my grandpa a letter once. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm no longer a Vikings fan. I am a Bengals fan.
And that's okay. We can let go of the purple and gold.
It's all right. But just like, as you just get bought in when you're surrounded by the people that you're like,
that's the missionary thing. Yeah.
So like I did a similar thing, but it was like a little bit different. But I was like, yeah, I'm ready to do something different. And so I enjoy it a lot. It's one of my favorite things I've done, you know?
Come on. That's so good. So if you're listening right now and you are, if you're feeling that, if you're feeling your roots meet the end of the pot, pay attention, because it might be time to
there's a little bit of heart movement
jump
there.
Jump out of the nest.
No, yeah.
Okay, I kind of want to transition a little bit. So for those who are, right, so we've experienced this and so many other people have, but now we're just like kind of divulging all of the things, right? When transitioning out of missionary organization life to out here, whatever you want to call that, there are a few different things that I personally feel like we, without trying, maybe idolize a little bit. Yeah. And I think one of those is community. Ooh.
Expand on that thought.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, and this is everybody.
We've talked about this.
Everybody that's been a part of community, everyone that's been a part of missionary organizations or like anything like that, their ears probably just perked up and they were like, "Oh, I promise." I love community, and it's one of the reasons that I even stepped into Damascus. I just become so good, like I became really good friends with so many of the men and women that were serving there as missionaries, dear friends with a lot of the leaders of Damascus, and they became like family, and I love them so much. But there can come a time when we genuinely feel attracted to or pulled towards, receive the clarity to do so, to go in a certain direction. And the thing being like, well, I don't know anybody there. And here's the thing. I just feel like there's a tension there. Community should be something that launches us into mission. And community can be a landing pad, right? Where we come back into community from mission. That just makes sense. That's biblical, right? Absolutely. Like from community, we go and reach out and evangelize and spread our wings and stuff like that. And it's also a place for you to land and come back. And not only you, right? But to bring those who you shared the gospel with, to bring those who need family, who need community. But if we never leave,
it's kind of hard.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Back. Yeah. No, if the few things I said, first off, like, we know the principle like of the gospels, like we are made for relationships. So like we are made for this community, but like there's a lot of people out there that don't have it.
Right.
So like that's part of going to those places that's like a little challenging or a little bit like you're like, oh, I don't know anyone there. Like, okay, let's do it, you know?
Right.
But it's like that's part of it. But I think too, like what you're saying too, I think of some of the seasons of my life that I've done some things that are very hard, but it's because I've had the security of community to support me to go do that hard thing.
Right.
And then I can come back, like you're saying, like, so like I can do the hard thing because of that support of the community, but like that might actually include me leaving. And it's like, okay, I think first of all, like I've had teams and I love them very much and we get very, very close knit, but it's just like always so exciting and refreshing when you would go home and visit your friends and like experience life outside of it and then come back.
Right.
And you'd be able to share your life with them. And like, that's like very much the same thing when it's like, you see like community becoming an idol. It's like, you're afraid of going and experiencing life outside the community and actually where you encounter the Lord out there and like actually could become more alive yourself.
Oh.
And then come back and like share that with other people too, even within the community. And it's like, so yeah, like I think you're right. I think it can become an idol. It can become a hindrance. It can become a thing that prevents us like from doing something that's hard or inviting us, the Lord inviting us to something that's different because it doesn't look like something we know or thought we would desire or it's just not like.
And I think it forces us to refine and purify what we think community is anyways. This podcast is about exiting missionary life into the real world. Yeah. It's not about community, but this needs to be spoken about. I think it forces us to refine and purify our understanding of community. And I'll just speak from experience. Yeah. It has been a little over a year since I've what Damascus calls deploy. I don't know what Focus calls it, but you like deploy, right? And it's very militaristic. It's pretty cool. We like it. But it's been over a year since I've deployed. And man, the times that I've reconnected with the men and women that I've served with and the leaders who've become like mothers and fathers to me, that's still there. It's not like, okay, it's not like because I don't live in the same geographical area or live the same rhythm of life or all these things. So really, I feel like it forces us to kind of test it. Like, are you still family? Right. And then just holding that in the tension with like, because I remember, I'll say this. I remember when I was exiting from Damascus, there is a brother of mine who said, Chris, you can't leave. Like when I think about Damascus, I think about you. I responded with, I'm really honored by that so much of who I am has been gifted to this place. But if I don't leave right now, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
And that's like dramatic, but it's going back to the plant analogy, right? Like my roots are wrapping around me right now.
Like you couldn't stay because you were afraid of losing that community or losing those people, or because of like what you meant to them. It was like about what the Lord was inviting you into, and like your need to like keep growing.
Right.
That's
and it was
what it was about. Instead of, and like that wasn't to the detriment of that relationship, or maybe there's like a change. Of course there's a change. But like, I mean, I just last week talked to one of my teammates from 2 years ago. We haven't talked for like a year and a half. Super life-giving conversation. But like, it was so life-giving, I think, because we hadn't seen each other and were able to share what we had been doing. And like, we were able to invite each other into our lives and like, what are you doing? Who are you meeting? What's going on? Like, how is the Lord speaking to you? You know, like these things, like we have a very like close friendship. Shout out Catherine. But I don't know. Do we do that on podcasts?
I mean, I think so. This is my first, I don't know. Sure.
But like, yeah, Catherine and I had this great conversation. It was like so life-giving, and we were able to have it because we had that proximity when we were on team together, and we were able to like still enter into that a year and a half later. And it's like, but yeah, it was like she understood like we were all doing our own things. I was actually able to speak to her as she's leaving staff herself and be like, this is what my life's been like. And she's like, this gives me great hope, you know? So like there's that element.
Right. It was very like, it was, hey, if I don't leave, I'm going to die. And here's like, and then I pressed in even more and was like, if I stay, I will be miserable. You'll have me, but you'll have miserable
It won't be me.
It won't be me.
It won't be the me.
It won't
be
me.
Right now.
But if I leave, I'll be more alive than I am now. And I'll get to live on mission in a new, adventurous way.
Yeah. Cause that's so, it's hard to hear, I'm sure, like as your pal, as your friend who said that, you know, but like that is like the pursuit of holiness, is it not? Like we like die to different versions of ourselves and become like more who we were made to be. Right. Like that's what it is. Right. That's what the Lord's always inviting us into. So to deny that is like a death of sorts.
Right. And I just think about the last time that all the apostles were together. Do you know what I'm saying? Wait, why are you freaking out?
Oh my gosh. So one of my friends, she and I talked about this like years ago. She said, she's like, if you think about it, the Bible is written on a series of letters between friends. Ooh. And it's like these friends like wrote letters because they were apart from each other, because they were on mission together. Oh my gosh, dude. And that's why we have scripture, like have this like New Testament, you know, because of that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Wow.
I think about it frequently. I'm like, she just like said that. I'm like, yeah, I think about it frequently because it's true.
Wow. I'm going to pray about that later. That's really good.
It's good.
But like, at one point there had to be this moment where it was like, I don't know the next time I'm going to see you. Yeah. But we've got to do this. Yeah. We've got to do this. There's this twofold necessity there. One being, if we stay in this cohort, in this company of people and don't go out, we ourselves will not be fully alive, because it is when you are baptized into Christ, right? When you come into the way, when you are a disciple and you are committed to being a missionary disciple, you need to get out of the nest and go and live on mission, whatever that is. Not some pre-prescribed, not some like cookie cutter, like I'm going to try to replicate someone else's, but like your own thing. And we'll get to, that's the next thing we should definitely talk about. But, so because to be fully alive as a missionary disciple, you do need to, you know, do that and venture out. But then secondarily, if you don't, you will be disobedient. And that will be another episode of Locust and Honey. We talk about disobedience and obedience. Woof.
Huge. Yeah, it's
huge.
Big part of
humility. Yeah. Something you said on the phone though earlier this week was something about the Great Commissioning. I would love for you to share a little bit about that, because I think when we talk about this, when we talk about going from missionary life to normal life out here, one thing that needs to be, I think, spoken about and discussed, brought into conversation, is what is it? Like, what does it mean to actually be on mission? What does it mean to live as a missionary when you're not wearing a name tag, when you're not fundraising your salary, when you're not, wearing whatever it is? We wore green button-ups, and everyone that's ever worked at Damascus knows about these green we called them the zookeeper shirts.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
And it made sense because when you're doing middle school, high school ministry, you feel like a zookeeper most of the time. Yeah. But yeah, Kelsey, what does it mean to be on mission out here when you're not wearing the name tag?
Right. No, I think, the Great Commission coming from Matthew. Yeah. Right. Well,
some missionary shame.
Yeah, right?
I should probably know that. I should know
I was going to look it up so he's going to ask me. I'm like,
It's in multiple gospels.
It is in multiple gospels, but the version I'm going to say is in Matthew. It's like when at the Ascension.
Right.
Jesus leaving last time, they're like, peace out, dude. They did not say that. They're probably very sad. But he said, go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. And then he told them to teach them all that. They taught them. He said, I'll be with you till the end of the ages. So within that, and that's actually a really key scripture that as a missionary we would go back to. Because it's this invitation that we all are invited into mission. We're all commissioned in that way. We're all, if you're baptized, it's go therefore make disciples of all nations. There's an invitation to share the gospel with everyone you encounter. And that each person has a different capacity they're going to do that in. Right. But we all have a particular way that we are part of the body of Christ, that we will do that in. Right. And so me talking to a college freshman, sharing that with them and saying like, go do the thing. All right, let's do it. How's that going to look in your life? It might look like doing their homework well. It might look like leading a Bible study. It might look like inviting their friend who used to be Catholic back to mass. It might be, there's like a lot of different ways, but as someone leaving staff with focus, that like, what did that look like? It looked like me, going to the sacraments, making a time for prayer, doing my daily duties well. Yeah. Inviting people into my life and sharing the gospel in that way. And then also that trust of like the Lord will be with you until the end of the age, and he's given us the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So inviting the Holy Spirit into our life and like being attentive to the Holy Spirit in our lives. Yeah. And that's not just like something like, oh, Kelsey the missionary should do that. It's like, no, actually as a baptized Christian, you need to do this because like we all are invited to that. Like there's people out there that are like probably listening to this that, like, people I'll never meet this person, but they're in your life daily. And so you being a disciple of Christ is going to help them to encounter the Lord. And that is a thing that's going to be you on mission. Right. And then like for me, it's like getting to work on time, pouring coffee for people and smiling at them, even though I'm in a bad mood, like being real, but like also like being like, I understand that you are a human being and like, this is my mission right now, just to help you have a better day and to be seen. Right. Like, they have no idea if I'm a Christian or not, but like if they feel seen by me, like hopefully that's an extension of Christ, right? So that's like, that is life on mission. So for me, like, so I think that is huge. I like would always get a little peeved when people are like, I don't know, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I don't have a lot of friends, I have a little bit of friends, and I'm like, I know, that's okay. You've been made this way. Go there. No, because this is important, because we were talking about this on the phone. It's like, this is my like temperament, and it's like, okay, your temperament is a disciple of Jesus. Yeah, and it's like, cool. Like maybe you are less like I'm the most extroverted person most people know. So I think people would say the same for you. Correct. So the two of us in a room is like a little bit chaotic. Like I have my moments though. Yeah. No, we both. I have my monastic days where I'm locked in and that purple moon is on my phone and you're not getting a hold of me. And that's great. That's great. But anyways, but like we're the most probably like forward, like when someone walks in the room, we don't know them, we say hi. Right. Like that's not everybody's temperament, and that's okay. That is okay. Like we don't need everyone, but no one's exempt from mission. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, okay, so how in your particulars are you going to do that then? Like, do you know people are like more wallflowers? Like go stand and talk to them then. Like that's cool. That's fine. Right. Like just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't talk to people. Just because you're extrovert doesn't mean you can't intentionally spend time with somebody. Right. Because you want to talk to everybody in the room. Right. That's like like my failure, right? It's like I'm like everywhere, and it's like no, actually, like I need to see this person in front of me and be present to them fully. Right. Even if my like energetic brain's like. One of the most beautiful things talking like with the introvert, extrovert, like whatever your thing is, it's so beautiful. That's like, one thing that I shared with you on the phone was that
that time transitioning from this chapter to the next, from missionary to I don't know what I am out here, was so life-giving because I got to actually take a season to find out what ministry flows from me naturally.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, it's true.
Like, it's a perfect training ground, right? Being in a missionary organization, you are told like you are given the model of ministry, and a lot of it is like worked out for you, and it's just up to you to like just do it, right? And to like do the scary stuff, right? But when you're out here, and you don't have a model, you don't have a missionary like rhythm or like whatever it is, if you are disciplined enough, right, and you're listening to the voice of the Father, and you're grafted into the vine of Jesus, it's such a unique and beautiful and life-giving experience to find out what missionary activity flows from you naturally, right? Because you were like born for this, right? Yeah. And so then like I just started going crazy on social media, like social media and the creative arts and expression, and like putting the truth and beauty and goodness of God on display. Like, I don't think about it.
It's just it flows.
It's just what I do, right? And so like, for anyone listening who's like, okay, I hear you, like introvert, extrovert, I'm transitioning out of Focus, Net, Damascus, SPO, like whatever it is. It's of the utmost importance. We know this already regarding our spiritual life, but it is also very, very crucial regarding your mission life, that you be grafted into the vine, that you be in the vine. Because when you are in the vine, I'll put it like this. The branch does not have to think grow fruit. Like the branch does not have to, the branch isn't focusing like he's not trying to like grow apple. Like its job is to be in the vine. Where am I going with this? Because when you are transitioning out of organizational missionary life to mission life out here, real life, whatever life you want to call it, what is going to be best is that you let the ministry that God has planted in you grow and come out of you, instead of just doing what you think you should be doing. It's just another that would just be another version of performance of me, like just trying to live up to some like internal expectation I have of like like I'm gonna try to make Focus or Damascus like super proud by like doing all this stuff. And it's like, or you could be a faithful disciple, be rooted in the vine, and let ministry flow from your life, right? And so I know that was like a whole lot. It's like but for practical sake though, right? How do I find out what that is? Stay rooted in the vine and let it come forth from your prayer life. And it can look like so many different things.
Yeah, no, it's so true. And like, so for me, like I'm in school to study dietetics. So I want to be like working with nutrition, clinical like area, right? So I've been actually referring to like this season of my life as my hermit era, because I have to say a lot of no's. Like you've gotten a few of them. I know. I have gotten. Everybody in my life has gotten so many no's from me this year. It's like so unheard of, because I'm a yes gal. Like I'm down to do anything. And it's like, it's been a lot of no's, but then it's like also been like, hey, this is a season particularly the Lord is inviting me into right now. Right. And this is what I'm doing. So this is like how I'm leaning to it. And so like, but then like, how do I live mission in that instead of just like becoming closed in? And like, that's been looking like, okay, so I have one night this week where I'm able to invite people in. Okay, I'm gonna invite people from like every area of my life to come meet me at this brewery, come to my house, do game night, and like try to create like some sort of community in that space with like the limited time I have and the people I know. And it's like, yeah, hopefully like my people who like are from all these different walks of life, like get to meet each other and like get to encounter each other and get to encounter the Lord within that space. And it's like not really that complicated, but it's very particular to me and who I am, because like that's one of my gifts is like creating space. So like
your ministry of hospitality is unmatched. Yeah, go ahead and receive that.
I'll do my best. But like that's like one of my gifts. But the other thing is like the Lord's inviting me to be obedient to the task ahead of me, which is like just my supervised practice, my like studies, prayer, mass, these different things, you know. And so like it might be. And so I think we were talking about this the other day too. Is like this whole last year has been like a lot of hard things, which is very similar to what you're talking about. Of like, I was very comfortable within Focus because I was able to do those things well. A lot of it, my skills, I was like thriving. when I was there as a missionary. And like me being out of focus has been like me doing a lot of things that are like freaking hard for me, like saying no to things, very difficult, like creating, like studying, going back to school, very difficult. But like within that difficulty, the Lord's like inviting me to live mission and gain new skills for mission as I go forward. Like everything now is going to serve him moving forward too.
Right. This is the last thing.
Okay.
This is the last thing. If this room was filled with men and women who are transitioning out of being a full-time missionary with an organization to whatever comes next, what are some things that you would say really concisely to them?
Okay. I think something that I've held on to since deciding to leave focus was just this like, it's from the Psalms, and it's, well, the shorthand of it is consistency and gaze. Like to have, or not, what am I saying? Proximity and gaze. I was like, that was wrong. But in scriptures, in the Psalm, it says, "Do not hide your face from me, for you, in you I put my trust." And like, I think that's been huge for me, like in moments where I'm like, did I do the right thing? This is really hard. This is really good. Like all these different things, like having that proximity and gaze of the Lord. Even if I don't feel it, like I know the voice of the Father, and I know what it was when I made that decision, and I ask him not to hide his face from me. And even though I don't hear him, I know that invitation was, so I just need to keep going down the path that he's invited me into. So like that consistency, that's where consistency comes, is like the consistency of like going to him and like checking in and like having that proximity. So that's been huge for me. The consistency of like just like prayer life. Find a parish. This is like one of my soapboxes. Like just find a parish. And like I'm going to a parish in my neighborhood. There's not a lot of young adults. I'm like one of 4 30-year-olds that are there.
Come on.
And like it's a little wonky at times. I love it. I just love it. There's like I could go
That's
off.
that North Dakota in you. You're so loyal. It's crazy.
It's so true. It's so true. I am. Yeah.
You're like, what? This is hard. All right, let's do
like,
it.
Winter, buckle up.
Exactly. Gosh dang it.
Nothing. Yeah.
If you're listening and you're a recruiter for missionaries for whatever your thing is, anyone from North Dakota is a solid choice. We are a different breed. We've got that hardy Midwest
There's a loyalty
stock.
that is
right.
that
We're
is
very
deeply
loyal.
Ingrained. Yeah. That is so true. But yeah, so pick a parish.
Yeah.
Pick a close parish.
Come on.
Build something in your neighborhood if you can. If there's something there, like it might be hard, but like, can you imagine being 13 years old and looking up and being like, "There's no one here under the age of 60 at Mass"? Yeah, because they're not there. So like we have to be there to make that happen.
Right.
You know, so that's another thing. And then also just like have fun. Like literally, it's so fun. Like literally,
there's no rules. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I think you're gonna probably mess up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're like gonna make mistakes. You're not gonna have friends for a minute. Maybe you will. Like that's okay. But like just have fun with the Lord in it. Like just have fun.
Yeah.
Just do things. Try things that are different. Try things that are new. Like meet new people, develop new hobbies, read different books. Like, I don't know, just like have a good time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's so good.
It's really simple, but
no, that's really good. I think if you're listening right now and you are, you're in that season of like, all right, it's time to go. It's time to leave the nest. I've served well. And, you know, whether it was 1 year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is, it's time to open up the next chapter of my life. And you're listening right now. I would say that I have a locust and honey for you. The locust would be the hard thing, and the honey would be the less hard, maybe sweet thing. The locust, I would say that you're going to find out really quickly what was real and what wasn't. What I mean by that, you will find out really quickly if you were praying regularly, if you were living a life of mission, if you were doing all that you were doing because the other people around you were doing it, or if it was actually just coming from your relationship with Jesus. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I know that was like huge for me. It was like, you know, when accountability isn't there anymore, or when people aren't looking, or when the people around you aren't praying at the same time with the same holy hour every day or doing the same stuff, you will find out what stuck and what didn't, what was formation and what was playing pretend. But then the honey is almost like the other side of the coin. When you come out here and you start to see who you truly are, not just what you've been doing, it's life. It's really humbling to see all the stuff. Maybe there's stuff that you didn't really deal with from before your time as a missionary that will bubble up to the surface. But it will bubble up to the surface with also the kindness and tenderness of the Father. Like it's so intriguing. I mean, there's been times this past year where I've laid on the ground of my apartment and just stared at the ceiling. And it is this really intense moment of feeling so compromised and so weak. I feel like kind of like stripped because you can't wear that title. You can't, like, you know what I mean? You're very reduced down to who you really are if you remove all the activity, and your identity was in that, right? If it's just you, it's so humbling, it's so humiliating, but it's so life-giving and free. That's the word. That's the word that I would say, free. I feel free with all of the stuff attached to it. So I guess if you're listening right now, I just want to encourage you to jump. I want to encourage you to jump out of the nest. I want to encourage you to do the hard thing. I want to encourage you to step out of comfort and into discomfort. I want to encourage you to follow your dreams. I want to encourage you to spread your wings and fly. I want to encourage you to step into the new chapter, to open up the new chapter that God has for you. And to echo what Kelsey was saying, to put your trust in the Lord. And it's going to be really, really good. Oh my gosh. Confessions of ex-missionaries. Like, it's really good and really hard.
A good time.
I'm kind of an adrenaline junkie.
Oh yeah.
So like the stepping out and like, wow, this is really hard and this is kind of chaos and holy cow, what do? I like it. But some of you are listening and you don't. But regardless, I hope that this conversation blessed you. Thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of Locusts and Honey. And we'll catch you next time.